Your business deploys AI pilots everywhere. But are they going anywhere? Or are they stuck in silos, exhausting resources, unable to scale? Maybe you don't need hundreds of AI pilots, you need a holistic strategy. IBM has 65,000 consultants with Gen AI expertise who can help you design, integrate, and optimize AI solutions. So you're not just deploying AI, you're scaling it across your business. Learn more at ibm.com/consulting. IBM. Let's create.
Other realtors have vacant homes. At Pest Properties, ours come occupied and ready to invest. Looking to relocate your larvae? Try the Petri Residence. This rustic home features thousands of crevices to squirm in through, vaulted ceilings for our wall crawlers, and an outdoor bird bath teeming with mosquito eggs. So kick up your 6 hairy legs and sign today.
Before pests move in, Terminix it. With over 95 years of experience, we'll help keep your home off the pest market. Visit Terminix.com today.
Want to make a podcast? Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, distribute it everywhere, and even earn money, all in one place for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit your podcasts right from your phone or your computer. So no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify, and when you want to take conversations with your fans to the next level, Q&As and polls are the best way to get them talking. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. Ever since I discovered Spotify for Podcasters, I feel so supported in the creation and distribution of my show. Spotify for Podcasters hosts masterclasses, office hours, and more to help creators develop and fine-tune their skills. I highly recommend you give it a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started. What is up, everybody? Welcome to 80/20. I'm your host, Lily Rako, and I'm so excited that we are finally doing this. I'm happy that you're here. I'm happy that I'm here. I am psyched for this. So if you guys know me or are familiar with my YouTube channel or my Instagram or any of that stuff, you probably know that I have been kind of planning this for the past few months. I've been hinting at it a little bit in like a couple videos and, here and there on my Instagram stories. I've received so many DMs from people, or anytime I put up like a little question sticker or anything, people are always like, start a podcast, please start a podcast. So here I am. I'm finally doing it, finally starting a podcast. And the reason that it has taken so long is because I was really stuck in this mindset that I needed it to be perfect, that I wanted to wait until I was certified in XYZ. I wanted to wait until I had a certain amount of followers. I wanted to wait until I could, get the perfect graphic design, logo thing going on. But really, when it comes down to it, your first anything isn't supposed to be perfect. And so I'm really just tired of not doing a podcast, and so here I am. I just decided that it's time to do the darn podcast. I wanted this episode to just be a little bit of an intro to the podcast, what you can expect, and then I wanted to get into an introduction about me. And I feel like a lot of you know me from my YouTube or from my Instagram or whatever, but I just really wanted to start things off on the right foot and really map out who I am, what I'm doing here, and kind of everything that led me to where I am today. Because I was talking about this with my boyfriend the other day, and I feel like a lot of times people don't know the whole story behind internet people or whatever. And it's not like you can just Google every little thing about my life. I don't have like a Wikipedia page or anything like that. I'm just little old me, literally in my childhood bedroom recording a podcast. And so I wanted to just kind of go through like my whole story, at least throughout the past 3 years. I'm only 20, so I don't have like this big long life story. But I feel like a lot of people have kind of come and gone throughout at least like my subscriber numbers and my followers and stuff. And I wanted to really just sit down and tell my story and everything that's got me to this point in my life right here, right now, today. So that's what we're going to do in this podcast, introduce the podcast and then introduce me. So let's go ahead and talk about the name and why I chose it. So obviously I named the podcast 80/20. Also, guys, by the way, quick little side note, there's going to be a lot of side notes because I kind of talk in like a zigzag pattern, maybe. Like it's not a straight line. It's just kind of like one point after the other and they kind of bounce off each other. So if sometimes I get a little off track, I apologize, but that's kind of just how I roll. I'm also trying to read off my Google Doc at the same time, but I'm also trying to let it kind of flow naturally. So the first couple episodes are going to be kind of rough, but that's the point, right? If I started this when it was perfect, it would have been too late. So obviously I named the podcast 80/20, and the name was the last thing that I truly needed to get the ball rolling. And I actually came up with this name in a dream, and it just kind of came to me. And in the dream, I was sitting at my desk and I was like writing out all these potential names, and I just felt like all of them were so stupid and so corny, and I wanted a name that was kind of cool. And I was like, okay, I feel like numbers have almost no emotional like attachment to them. Like I feel like words carry a lot of emotion, but numbers don't. And so I was like, you know what, numbers, that'd be so cool. And then I thought about 80/20. You may have heard of the 80/20 rule in like the health and wellness world, or I know that, you know, maybe it has to do with like money or business or whatever. You can pretty much apply the 80/20 rule or the 20/80 rule to so many different things in your life. But I really think of it in my life really within the health and wellness kind of realm. So basically, the two ways that I kind of think about the 80/20 rule has to do with balance, and then also have to do, well, I guess they both kind of have to do with balance. So the first example is that eating healthy 80% of the time is enough, and then you can leave that extra 20% open for like bachelor and wine nights, or like pizza on Friday afternoon, or like a cake on your birthday, whatever. And then the other meaning is all about like how you yourself can be healthy. So health is 80% nutrition and then 20% exercise. And those two rules kind of go hand in hand, but I really do like them. I think that it's so true that when it comes to health and wellness, it's really 80% nutrition and 20% exercise. And also, I feel like this would make sense if you have no idea who I am, but I'm really, really passionate about health and wellness, and that's going to be a huge, huge topic on this podcast. So I really wanted it to be like something health and wellnessy, lifestyle-y, I don't know. So I thought that 80/20 would be really cool. And then you can also take this rule and apply it to different areas of your life, especially if you are a young person. So like when it comes to your habits, you can think about, do 20% of your most important habits account for 80% of value in your life? Or do 20% of your relationships count for 80% of your happiness? Like that kind of stuff. So I personally really love this ratio because it's rooted in living a balanced lifestyle, which is something that is so, so important to me. And we will dive a lot deeper into that later. But I wanted the name to be really unique and different and meaningful. And I hope that you guys like it. And also, just think about how cool the merch could be one day. Like a little like 80/20/ or maybe not a slash at the end of the 20. I don't know, but I feel like the merch could be kind of cool because I never really liked merch that's just like, I love Lily Rayco, like written across the front. Like I would never wear that. But if you just have like a little sweatshirt that maybe says something cool on the front, like balance or something, and then the neckline of the back of the crew neck, like up at the top. I don't know if you guys can picture this, but I'm doing like hand gestures right now, but maybe like there's like a gray crew neck, it says balance across the front on the chest, and then on the back embroidered is like 80/20/ like up at the neckline, like high. I don't know, could be really cute. As you guys can tell, I'm a big dreamer. So yeah, that's way down the road because making merch is so expensive, but just something to think about. If it's something that you guys would want. Who knows? TBD, whatever. Let's go ahead and get into the next little segment of what you can expect from the podcast. So like I said, I want this to be a place for my subscribers, followers, friends even. I mean, I really truly do think of you guys as my friends, and I love corresponding with you guys over DMs and whatever. I feel like we've built such a strong relationship that I wanted to have a place where I can just talk about things that are important to me and then in turn provide value to you. And so I don't want to just sit here and talk your ear off about random stuff and like, you know, what lip gloss I'm loving at the moment, even though we'll probably talk about that kind of stuff here and there. But I really wanted it to be a place for you to come and learn and be entertained and be informed and like all those things. I want it to be like you're on the phone with a friend or like with a mentor or like your big sister. Like I honestly, my dream in life is to just be like a professional big sister to like all of you guys. And I feel like I'm already doing that. And so I feel like this podcast can just get me one step closer to you guys. And so I know that in order for people to really value my content, it has to provide value. So of course you're going to hear about my life, and this whole episode is going to be about my life because I feel like that's really the only proper way to kick things off. But I really want this podcast to be about you as a listener and how you can become a better version of yourself. Sorry guys if there was like a little like misstep right there. I don't know what happened, but my thing just stopped recording and I listened back to it and I feel like I wasn't close enough to the mic. So I'm going to get a little bit closer to the mic. So if you have to turn down your phone like 2 or 3 notches, I apologize. Like I said, we're learning here and it's going to get better and whatever. So you're just going to have to kind of bear with me. I'm not perfect. And like I said, if this was perfect, it's too late to start. I'm also in a room that kind of echoes. So I feel like we're going to need to add more furniture to this room very, very soon. But yeah, I don't know. Living, learning together as a group. Anyway, I came up with a list of topics that I wanted to discuss on this podcast, and I wanted to read them off to you guys so you know what to look forward to. And I also wanted to open the floor to you guys to suggest topics that you want me to cover, because like I said, we're all new here, we're all doing this together, and so of course I want to make episodes that you guys want to hear about. And so feel free to follow me on Instagram. The link will be in the show notes, or you can go to 8020pod on Instagram. So that's just 8020pod pod. That's it. I wanted to make it really short and really sweet for you guys to just be able to type it on Instagram. It will also be linked in the bio of my personal Instagram, which is just Lily Rayko. That's LILYRAKOW on Instagram. So you guys can go on there, comment, let me know what types of episodes that you guys want to hear about. But I'm going to go ahead and list off the few that I am planning to do within the next few weeks. So lots of health and wellness stuff. I want to talk about my personal health journey and my nutrition school journey. I want to talk about diet culture versus, you know, what you should actually be putting in your body. I want to talk about how to put your health first when the people around you don't value their health, self-care, gut health, mental health, and my personal struggle with mental health, anxiety, depression, sleep, all that kind of stuff. And then of course we'll do some influencer lifestyle type content, like more kind of not as heavy, I don't know, not like health and wellness is heavy, but you know, less sciencey, I guess, I don't know. So I really want to talk about finding your place, the reality of college and how I view college advice, college applications, the reality of being an influencer, quote unquote. You guys can't see me doing air quotes right now. I'm going to talk about starting a YouTube channel. I want to talk about social media and mental health. Those are just some topics that I want to cover within the next few weeks, but I know that you guys probably have your own ideas of what I should cover too, so I really want your feedback and your input. So really, there's just endless possibilities when it comes to a podcast. So moving on from what the podcast is going to be about, I want to talk about what I'm about. So I'm kind of going to go into my story for those of you who don't really know who I am, or maybe have just recently started following me. I feel like it's a lot to really discover someone's story just from their YouTube channel. Like you kind of have to go back and watch all the videos, and it's like unless you've been following me for the past 2 to 3 years, you probably don't know my full story. So I just wanted to kind of do like my little basics and then my elevator pitch, and then we'll kind of dive into like the deeper stuff of my life. My name is Lily Rayko. I am 20 years old. I currently reside in Ocean City, Maryland. I grew up here and I moved back here full time last January. but there's a chance that I could be going somewhere else here pretty soon, within the next few months maybe, who knows. Somewhere that no one would be able to guess, so TBD. Also really quick guys, my chair is really squeaky, so if you hear like little squeaking sounds, that is what's going on. Like kind of like that. I don't know if you guys can hear that going on. That is my chair. Really cute. Okay. My main thing that I do is probably YouTube. That is where I post vlogs for an audience of about 42,000 subscribers. And I've been doing that for a little over 3 years now. And honestly, it was one of the best decisions that I've ever made to start that thing. And it has given me so many opportunities, allowed me to meet so many amazing, beautiful people, allowed me to connect with you guys and really discover my passions. And I truly believe that I wouldn't be the person who I am today without that. So if you have something in your life that you've been thinking about starting, let this just be an example that you should just start it. Just like screw what everybody else is going to say, screw what you think people are going to say, screw what you think, the negative thoughts that you think, just screw that and just do it. So I'm a college gal. I am currently a student at the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, and I'm like a health and wellness lifestyle guru. I'm really big into positivity, and I like happy quotes, and I'm kind of annoying in that sense, but I also like to keep it real around here. So I am not afraid to put people in their place, but I'm nice about it, I guess, I don't know. But I don't like to take the BS, so take your BS elsewhere if you're going to bring it here. We don't have room for that here. And I feel like I have been dabbling in so many different areas throughout my whole YouTube journey that I really don't have a niche, whatever people say. And I think a lot of times in the influencer or social media world, everyone thinks that you have to find one niche and stick to it. But really, since my audience has changed so much over the past few years, I feel like I've changed over the past few years. And my channel is such a perfect example of why it's so important to change, because you can't grow into the person that you are supposed to be if you don't change. Or I don't know, whatever I'm trying to say is that change and growth go hand in hand. And my reasoning behind that kind of brings me into like my story, I guess my college story. So I graduated high school in 2018, and I went to DePaul University, which is a very, very, very small, like 2,000 kids small liberal arts school in Greencastle, Indiana. Beautiful school. They call it the Ivy League of the Midwest. And I went there for my freshman year and the first semester of my sophomore year. And I absolutely loved it. Freshman year was a dream. I met some of the greatest people in the entire world. I met my boyfriend, who we're still together to this day. He's actually downstairs taking his classes from Zoom in my kitchen. So freshman year was an absolute dream. So much fun. I look back on Snapchats and I'm like, wow, who is that girl? Like, I had such long, like, bleach blonde hair. I was going out every single weekend. It was lots and lots of fun, but I am not that girl anymore. And I feel like I really couldn't keep up with like the college lifestyle. It was fun for a year, and then by the time sophomore year rolled around, I really just didn't care about partying. I really just wanted to buckle down and focus on my academics, because DePaul was really, really hard. It was such an academically challenging school, so rigorous, and I really just wanted to put school first. It's not like I was a bad student, but I just really wasn't too into partying like everybody else was. And I really think that may have like limited me. I don't really know. But basically, I just got to this horrible mental state. And it was December of 2019, or I guess it was the fall of 2019. I was living in my sorority house. It was my first semester ever living with my sorority. And I lived in this big house with 60 girls, and, you know, ideally it's, you know, you're living in this mansion, it's so much fun, you're living with your sorority sisters and whatever, but really when it came down to it, the bad times really outweighed the good times for me. I was just really in a horrible place mentally and health-wise, and I really just think that living in my sorority house really attributed to a lot of my problems. And honestly, I can make a whole episode about this if you guys want. I really don't want to like dive too far deep into it, because I'm so far removed from Greek life and the Greek system at this point. Although I do still wear the shirts because I paid so much money for them, so you will not catch me throwing them away. They're like comfort colors and all that. I'm not throwing those t-shirts away. So anyway, I was living in my sorority house, and living with 60 girls really isn't natural. I went from being this really, really fun and outgoing girl to being really reserved and introverted, and I really just shut down, and I focused really hard on my schoolwork. I focused really hard on my YouTube channel, but really it just was vlogs of me alone in my room talking to the camera about how I'm doing homework and I'm gonna go get a cup of coffee. And that was pretty much all I did. I studied, I hung out with my boyfriend, and I cried a lot, and I went and got coffee. And there were so many other issues, but I think the biggest for me was that living there just didn't equip me to live my best life. And it really just depends on what school you go to, but at DePaul, there's not really any other options. So like as a sophomore, you would either live in your Greek house or you would go live in a dorm. And there weren't really any off-campus apartments because it was really a rural area. And so to make a very long story short, I just remember sitting in the Kroger parking lot, guys. Kroger, it's a grocery store. I had just gone in and I got like a little one of those like pre-made sushi packs or whatever. And I was sitting in my car crying in my little tiny freaking Honda Accord with no tinted windows in the middle of the Kroger parking lot, eating my Kroger sushi, bawling my eyes out because I just couldn't take it anymore. And this was the middle of finals week. And I called my mom and I said, Mom, I can't do this anymore. I am in such a horrible place mentally, physically. I cry every single day, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I was miserable. And I was like, I can't focus on my academics if my health isn't in good shape. My mom was like, yeah, you're right. Okay, you can come home. So finals week, I took my last final. I packed up all my stuff and my mom flew out to Indianapolis. I drove to Indianapolis, picked her up, and then we drove home. So my plan was to come back to DePaul in the fall of 2020. So my plan a year ago was to come back now. Obviously, that didn't happen, and we'll get to that in a few. Fast forward to January, people on YouTube were starting to notice, and a lot of them were asking, like, why aren't you in Indiana? Why aren't you going back to school? When do you go back to school? Why do you have all this time off? Whatever. And at the time, I had about 30,000 subscribers. And so I'm like, okay, 30,000 people are watching me and they're wondering what I'm doing and why am I not at school. And I just couldn't keep making videos in my childhood bedroom and not being honest. And it's like all these things just didn't add up. And, you know, I had my car at home and people were so confused, whatever. So I kind of just waited as long as I could because I didn't know what the reaction would be. I was really, really worried because I had never felt so lonely in my life. I had never felt so much like a failure, and I didn't really want the judgment until I was okay in my own mind, until I was okay with the decision, because I was still kind of just in such a bad mental place that I really couldn't even like comprehend like what was really going on. So it was like mid-January, I posted this video and I was sitting on the floor in my room and I just looked so freaking sad. Like watching that video, it just looked so sad. And I just talked about why I left DePaul and how I was going to go to Salisbury, which is a university here in Maryland, and it's about 30 minutes away from my like hometown, I guess. So I would just commute up there every day, and like that was my new plan. So I remember that the day that the video went up, I was coming home from visiting Sam, my boyfriend, in Indiana, because he lives there. And so I was just sitting in the Indianapolis airport, bawling my eyes out because of how freaking supportive everybody was. And I'm like almost getting emotional here, like talking about it on the podcast, because I just remember feeling like this weight had been lifted off of my shoulders, because I didn't think that this group of 30,000 people would really even care. I don't know, I was just in this horrible mindset to begin with, and I just felt like everybody would unsubscribe to me because I wasn't living in a sorority house. I wouldn't be making like regular college content anymore. I wasn't doing XYZ and I wasn't doing the normal thing. And I felt like people were going to hate me for that, which is so wrong, because really we're all on our own little perfect timeline and everything truly, truly happens for a reason. And so I just remember feeling so at peace with my decision, and it's kind of sad that that peace had to come from, outside approval, but sometimes that's what we need, right? Sometimes we need people who aren't our family or our friends to tell us, like a stranger to tell us that I think that you're doing the right thing and I think that you're going to be okay. Like sometimes we need that. So I don't think that outside approval is necessarily a bad thing, but I just remember feeling amazing after I posted this video. This was probably like January 10th, 15th, I don't know. Then all of a sudden I started getting the backlash from these girls in my sorority because they all thought that I was making them look bad. And I don't even think that I really mentioned the sorority in the video. I think I said like I didn't like living in the sorority house or something like that, but I try to make it really clear that it was my decision in my life. I don't know. I'm not saying all this to like complain about all the sorority stuff and what happened, but I think that what I'm about to tell you is really like the defining moment of what shaped me into the person I am today. I just think that this story really creates the framework for who I am today as a person. I really truly believe that your failures shape you into the person that you are today. So fast forward to February of 2020. This is actually just a month before the whole COVID thing starts. And so I was taking classes at Salisbury, which is like 30 minutes from my house, like I said. I would get up at like 7 a.m. and commute there. I would get home at like 4 p.m. I was taking 100 level classes. They were so easy. I was absolutely miserable. And I missed my boyfriend. I missed living on my own. I was back in my home, my childhood bedroom, and like living with my parents and stuff, and just such a change. Such a huge change. And so I was like, wow, I really miss college. And I found a flight and relatively cheap flight. So I headed out to Indiana to visit Sam for a long weekend. And so I was like, okay, this is perfect. I get to see my boyfriend, maybe go to a party or two. This will be great, whatever. So I get there on Friday morning and Sam picks me up from the airport. And so there's a party on Friday night. And so of course, since the school was very small, very quickly, all of my old sorority sisters started showing up. And so I was kind of like, okay, this is great. So I was tired from traveling and I just kind of wanted to lay low. So I was just kind of like chilling. And so mind you, I was still in this horrible mental state and my anxiety was really bad. And so of course it doesn't take a lot to hurt my feelings. So I'll spare you guys the dirty details at this point because they really don't matter. But basically this one girl started to cuss me out and I stood up for myself, which is good, but it was actually just really awful. And in that very moment, I made the decision that I would never ever be able to come back to this school because of how like worried I was of what other people would think of me, and still just in this mindset of how I'm not allowed to do my own thing, when in reality doing your own thing for yourself is the best thing that you could ever possibly do ever. So in that moment I was like, okay, I cannot come back here in the fall and I'm gonna have to start over with the whole college process and figure out something else that would meet my new list of requirements. And I also just want to add that although this was the defining moment for me, I had already kind of made the decision that I didn't really want to come back here just because of how I felt when I was there. I just kind of felt like this heaviness that I had never felt before in my life. And I don't really know how to describe it necessarily, but just this feeling that I got of like emptiness and loneliness, like the moment that I stepped onto the campus. And although like I was just there to visit, I knew that I was only going to be there for like 4 days. It was still just so hard for me to be there in general. Really know what that's called, but if you're like a psychiatrist or whatever, or like a therapist, or you're studying to be one or whatever, let me know what that's called because I feel like there's a word for that. But yeah, I just didn't feel right when I was there. I haven't really talked like much about religion on my channel or anything, but I really think that that was just like God telling me that like you're not supposed to be here and that there's some other plan, some other school, some other thing that is right for you, but this isn't it. So I felt that and I kind of knew that in the back of my mind. And then when this whole little saga happened at the party, I was like, okay, this is, I just got to trust my gut, go with my gut. And this is the defining moment for me. And, that's that. Fast forward a few weeks, we're in the middle of a pandemic. I was no longer commuting to school because everything was online. And both my sisters were home with me. So I'm actually the middle child. I have an older sister, Marley, and a younger sister, Lexi, and they were both home, and we had so much fun together. It was just like we were in high school again, and, you know, we were eating family dinners every single night, and, you know, cooking with my mom, spending time with my dad, movie nights, family dinners, working out. Having time to be with the people I loved was truly the best gift that I could have ever received. And I mean, it was such a trying time for everybody, and I'm not trying to, you know, discount the fact that the world was such a horrible, horrible place at that time. But I truly think that those 2 to 3 months allowed me to shift my mindset from doing things for other people into doing things for myself. And it reminded me what was truly important, and that's the people that I love, the people that I care about, and the people that love me, and the people that care about me. I think a lot of people learned a lot about themselves during the pandemic, and if that's true for you, I'm so proud of you. And I think a lot of people made like life-changing decisions during the pandemic, so if that is true for you, I'm proud of you too. So that really made me all realize that the most important thing to me was my health, and I really, really, truly focused on the foods that I was eating and how they made me feel. I focused on moving my body every single day and using exercise and nutrition to be a remedy for me and my anxiety and my stress and my depression, and how to use nutrition and exercise to improve every other aspect of my life. So I had always been into like working out and like eating healthy, quote unquote, but I never really truly kicked it into high gear, I guess you could say, until like April of 2020. And so fast forward to May, I decided that I wanted to learn even more about my health, and I just didn't know where to start, because if you go online, you can go to Pinterest and type in like how to be healthy and like all these things will come up, and there's so much information out there. I wanted one place that I could go to learn more about my health, and I stumbled across the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. It is basically this online school for holistic health. It's more of like a health coach training program, but it teaches you so much about health, wellness, nutrition, exercise, sleep. It teaches you all these different possible diets that you might stumble across, over 100 different dietary theories, and you can look at each one and uncover what it is about that diet that makes it tick. And I don't know, I think that it's so cool, because it really looks at health from a holistic approach rather than just, you know, calories in, calories out, because that is the stupidest thing people could ever say. So because like back in May, I was still unsure of where I wanted to go to school. I knew that I wanted to prioritize my health and wellness, and so I enrolled in the school back in May. I've been enrolled for it for about 5 months now, and it has truly been such a gift, and it has changed my life for the better. And I've learned so much, and I'm learning so much about myself every single day, and it's been such an amazing resource for me, and I can't wait to use what I learned to be a resource for other people. At the same time, I was accepted to and enrolled in an online university that would later fall through, because they wouldn't take all my credits. I have about 64 college credits, and they only accepted 15 of them. And so by the time I learned that they weren't going to take my credits, it was August, so it was literally about 2 months ago. Which obviously, if you guys have, you know, deal with college, apply to college, whatever, or in college, you know that August is way too late to reapply to schools and get in somewhere. So really, I was kind of left with two decisions. Do I go to this online university that will make me be a freshman again, or do I just take time off until I can find a program that truly suits me and my needs and what I want to do in life? And so I chose the latter. I decided to take a gap semester, so it is currently September 30th, I believe, yeah. And I am in the middle of my gap semester right now. I'm still studying at the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, but I'm taking a gap semester from college. And so I just wanted to really clarify that those are two completely separate schools. IIN, so Institute of Integrative Nutrition, you might hear me refer to it as IIN in the podcast or videos or whatever, is not a college. It is an accredited trade school through the state of New York, but it is not a college. And I think that there are some colleges that you might be able to use the certificate as credit, but I have looked into those and I don't really like what they have to offer. So I'm not interested in either of those colleges, but I am in the process of looking for a new school to go to and to attend in the near future. All I'm going to say for that right now, because I don't want to say one thing and then have this podcast go up and then have me do something completely different. But I will say that I have been applying to a bunch of schools. I've really, really, truly been exploring a bunch of my options. I'm excited for the future because I know that, I want to go back to school because I've worked so hard for my degree so far. I only have 2 years left, so why not just finish it? And I think that that's something that's really important to me. But, if you don't want to go to college or you have something better, a better offer, a better job, a better whatever, and you don't feel like going to college, don't. I mean, you're on your own little perfect timeline. If you want to take time off, take time off. If you go through the 4 years straight and you're fine and you love your school and don't transfer, don't have any of the problems like I do, that is perfect too. I think that no one ever really stresses how important it is to be different. And I think that we all try to keep up with like the trendy people or whatever. But really, you just need to set your own trends and do your own darn thing because no one else really cares what you're doing. Like when it comes down to it, you can just do your own thing. So that's what I did. I did my own darn thing and here we are. We've landed right here. And yeah, that is kind of my story, the short version of my story. I just wanted to apologize for the computer fan noise in the back of all of those clips. Like I said, we are solving problems throughout this episode. I just listened back to the whole little clip that I just filmed, and it was the last half of my story and where I really, really told it with passion and whatnot. I feel like I just couldn't do it as good again if I told it again. So I'm going to keep the clip in there. I will try to reduce the hum noise, but my computer just won't stop making all this noise. I don't know why it's doing it. I'm going to try to move my computer away. I don't know, but it's doing it again. It's picking up. I don't know if you guys can hear this. This is probably so annoying. But anyway, guys, despite all of our little bumps in the road and flaws throughout this episode, I really appreciate it if you listened all the way through. And if you guys want more from the pod, be sure to follow 8020pod on Instagram. That's just 8020pod on Instagram, or you can follow me. It's just at Lily Rayco. That's LILYRAKOW on Instagram. That's where I'll be posting updates and question and answer series. I really want to do a little Q&A segment at the end of each podcast, or maybe drop an inspirational quote or just something to kind of leave you with. So that's what I'm going to do today to kind of end off the pod. I want to read off one of my top favorite quotes of all time, which is, become more aware of what is really worth your energy. And I really think that this quote is so important, especially just kind of going off of my little mini biography, I guess, or autobiography that I just kind of told you guys, because I really think that in becoming the happiest version of yourself, you have to weed out all the stuff that isn't worth your energy, all the negativity, all the crappy stuff. You got to weed that out and you got to really focus on what is worth your energy. So for me, that's my family, my health, my mental health, my best friends, and my career and what I love to do. And then all the other BS is just not worth my energy. So that's the little inspo that I will leave you guys with today. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. Also, I don't think that I said this, but I'm going to be posting a podcast every single Tuesday. So it'll be 80/20 Tuesday. Thought that fun little alliteration might be kind of, cool for everybody's, schedules and whatnot. You can remember because it's 80/20 Tuesday, kind of goes like that. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will talk to you guys next week. Bye.